What would you do if a flight crew refused to believe you owned your own private jet? For Samantha Johnson, a self-made billionaire, the answer was simple: fight back. Watch as she turns a humiliating moment into a powerful statement, firing the entire crew and exposing deep-seated prejudice. Samantha Johnson, a self-made billionaire at the age of 34, stood poised under the bright Miami sun. The morning rays glinted off her sleek gold watch, a reminder of the countless hours, sweat, and sacrifices that had propelled her to the top of the tech industry. She was dressed impeccably in a tailored navy suit that radiated confidence and power, a woman who had fought through every barrier life had thrown her way to reach the heights of success. Today, her mission was simple: a business trip to New York. But Samantha knew that in her world, nothing ever came without a fight. No matter how high she climbed, no matter how successful she became, the world was still full of people who would judge her by the color of her skin, not the weight of her accomplishments. As she approached her private jet, she noticed a group of uniformed crew members gathered nearby, their heads bent in whispered conversation. At the center of the group stood Captain Thomas Sanders, a man whose posture was as rigid as his prejudices. His cold, blue eyes swept over her as she walked toward the jet, and it was immediately clear that he wasn't expecting her to be the jet's owner. Samantha didn't need to say a word. She had experienced this type of subtle prejudice before. She had faced it in boardrooms, at social events, and even in the business world where her achievements should have spoken for themselves. But that didn't matter to people like Captain Sanders, who, with all his professional attire and authority, couldn't shake his skepticism at the sight of a successful black woman. She reached the base of the stairs leading up to her private jet when Captain Sanders stepped forward. A fake smile plastered across his face. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "This jet is reserved for VIPs. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding." Samantha didn't flinch. She met his gaze with an unwavering stare, her eyes sharp, unyielding. "There's no misunderstanding," she replied coolly. "I am the VIP." For a brief moment, Captain Sanders blinked, his face betraying disbelief. Then, with a smirk that barely hid his disdain, he responded, "Right, of course." He took a step back and raised a hand dismissively. "Let me double check. In the meantime, you can wait in the lounge." Samantha didn't react. She had seen this kind of discrimination before, and she knew exactly how to handle it. Calmly, she turned her back on the captain and walked toward the lounge without a word. Behind her, Marcus, her trusted assistant, stood ready to defend her honor. But Samantha didn't need his help. She knew the game she was about to play. Inside the luxurious lounge, Samantha sank into a plush leather chair, her mind racing. The crystal chandeliers above her, the gleaming marble floors beneath her, none of the luxury surrounding her could erase the sting of what had just happened. She knew that this wasn't a mistake or misunderstanding, it was prejudice, pure and simple. Picking up her phone, she dialed her legal team, outlining the incident in precise, measured tones. Her voice was steady, but the fire in her eyes was unmistakable. This wasn't just about a delay or a rude encounter, it was about something far bigger. She was going to make sure of that. Meanwhile, Marcus stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the crew outside with growing frustration. He could see them laughing and pointing in their usual arrogant manner, their behavior clear for anyone to see. The disdain in their eyes was palpable, and Marcus clenched his fists, barely containing his anger. He wanted to confront them right then and there, but Samantha had a plan. Time dragged on. An hour passed, every minute feeling like an eternity. When the door of the lounge finally opened, Captain Sanders walked in, his fake politeness replaced with an air of smug satisfaction. "Unfortunately, the jet's owner isn't available at the moment," he announced, trying to mask his arrogance. "But I'll have someone look into it." Samantha didn't give him a second to finish his sentence. She rose from her chair, every movement smooth, deliberate, and full of authority. "We'll discuss this now," she said in a calm, cold voice that left no room for argument. Without waiting for him to respond, she walked past him, her heels clicking decisively on the marble floor. Marcus followed closely behind, his loyalty to her evident in every step he took. They headed straight toward the jet, the tension in the air so thick you could cut it with a knife. When they reached the entrance of the jet, Samantha pulled out her credentials. Her fingers didn't tremble and her expression didn't falter as she handed them to Captain Sanders, who now stood frozen in disbelief. His arrogance had crumbled in the face of undeniable truth. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. "This is your jet," he stammered, his face draining of color. Yes, Samantha replied, her voice sharp and unwavering. And as of now, you and your team are dismissed. Gather your belongings and leave. Immediately. The crew stood frozen, their smugness evaporating as the full weight of the situation dawned on them. In the face of undeniable truth, there was no room left for pride or pretense. They quickly gathered their things, leaving the jet without a word, their earlier arrogance now replaced by a deep, undeniable shame. Samantha stood at the top of the jet's stairs, watching them leave. Her gaze was unwavering, and for a moment, a small smile tugged at the corners of her lips. She had won. But her victory wasn't just personal, it was a powerful statement to the world. However, this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. As soon as the crew was out of sight, Samantha pulled out her phone again. This time, she was calling her PR team. Within minutes, cameras were set up to document the incident, and the footage of the crew's departure was captured for all to see. The video went viral within hours, and soon hashtags like Know Her Name and Flashlight Privilege were trending worldwide. The airline, now under immense public scrutiny, issued an apology. But Samantha wasn't satisfied with empty corporate words. At a press conference the next day, she stood before a global audience, unshaken by the attention. "This isn't just about me," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Even with wealth and success, we are not immune to prejudice. This is a systemic issue, and it's time to confront it." Her words resonated deeply with people from all walks of life. Support poured in from every corner of the globe, and her voice became a rallying cry for change. 2 weeks later, Samantha launched the Open Skies Initiative. Its mission was simple yet powerful: to make the aviation industry more inclusive and equitable. The program offered scholarships for aspiring pilots from underrepresented backgrounds, mandatory diversity training for staff, and mentorship programs to break down the systemic barriers that had kept so many out. The response was overwhelming. Former crew members reached out, eager to be part of the movement, and Samantha welcomed them with open arms, knowing that their insights could help drive the change that was so desperately needed. As for Captain Thomas Sanders and his crew, their careers came to a swift and decisive end. Public outrage ensured that they became cautionary tales, a reminder that discrimination always has consequences. On Samantha's first flight under the Open Skies program, she boarded her jet with a diverse, enthusiastic crew, each face reflecting her commitment to equality and her vision for a better future. As the jet soared into the sky, Samantha gazed out at the endless horizon before her. This journey wasn't just about reaching New York, it was about breaking barriers, rewriting the rules, and creating a world where everyone had an equal chance to soar. Her triumph had gone beyond the courtroom, beyond the press conferences, and beyond the viral videos. It had become a beacon of hope and a call to action for a world where prejudice and discrimination had no place. Samantha Johnson wasn't just changing the aviation industry, she was changing the world. If Samantha's story inspired you to challenge the status quo and stand up for what's right, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more incredible stories like hers. Let's continue spreading empowerment and change together.